Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Stoughton Writers Group on TV. Today, we're going to talk about an important subject with a very important author. We're welcoming Heather McNally, the author of Rise, How to Find Your People, Purpose, and Your Journey Towards Success. I'm Mike Hardman, your host, the founder and CEO of Stoughton Writers Group and the author of Hardman. And this is a book I read this week, actually, and it started to stick with me already. So I know it's a good topic to talk about. And Heather, thank you for coming up and talking to us. And I want to first thank our friends at Annie's Bookstop in Raynham, because they introduced me to you indirectly. So they told me, you can have Heather on the show. I go, okay, we'll have Heather on the show. But I want to talk about your thing and your journey, your book, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Mike. I'm thrilled to be here, and I love to just connect with people and have conversations. So this is fun. And Annie's Bookstop is such a fabulous store, and the new owners are really owning what they're doing and bringing such life to the store. I think it's fantastic.
And the important thing to give authors like me and you a voice to be able to talk to other people we've had to. Let's talk about initials of Rise. Let's talk about what the R means.
Resilience, definitely resilience. And there are 7 of us authors in the book, and that's definitely the key to all of us, is that we went through something and that we were strong and that we rose above it and we were resilient in our rising and in our lives and pursued something besides where we felt we were stuck.
You bravely talk about your own journey to this too. I appreciate you doing that. I know I do that myself. It's very hard to do that. But I think that what you did by talking about what you went through, I'm sure you're going to help a lot of people. They're going to read this. I mean, watch the show. I hope or read your book. They're going to know how to be resilient.
Yeah.
That's a skill I don't think we talk about enough. That bouncing back in life, you're going to bounce back in life so many times.
Yes. So, I mean, everybody thinks that the life, it's like the big moments, but it's not. It's those little moments, and it's the little moments of beauty, but it's also the little moments of hardship and things that you go through and what you learn through it and how you continue to build yourself up and become who you're supposed to be. That resilience it's just that,
It makes us stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I think I look back at the stuff that I've been through in my life, and then I read the women your authors are courageously, like I said before, tell their stories. I mean, some of them are heartbreaking.
Yeah.
To read, but they see that the end they bounce back.
Right.
And there is resiliency too.
And that's the whole point. And that's like my whole purpose right now, is just to show people that you don't have to stay somewhere, that you are strong, that you've gone through things, and you can be resilient and stand up and rise.
And we talk about the I, it's identity. What do you mean by that when you talk about identity?
Identity is figuring out who you are. It's not just settling for what you think you're stuck with. It's figuring out who you are, becoming stronger because of it, and stepping into, for women, stepping into that person that you want to be, that you make a choice to be, and that you can be I grew up in a way that made me feel stuck, that made me feel less than, that made me feel little, very small. And I thought that was who I was going to be my whole life. And to be where I am right now, I never dreamt of writing a book. Well, maybe dreamt of, but certainly didn't feel...
Nancy Drew books.
Yeah. Certainly didn't feel it was achievable for me. Yeah. Certainly didn't feel that I had a voice, that anybody wanted to hear anything that I had to say. Who am I? I'm nobody. But my identity has shifted so much because I chose to be resilient, because I chose to stand up for myself and for others, and because I chose to live a life of integrity, of authenticity, and honesty. And so I got to redefine my identity, and now I'm, owning that, and it feels amazing. It's crazy, but it feels amazing.
When I became a single father, I spent a lot of time with kids watching cartoons. And I saw that women, the way women were portrayed in cartoons, and I was aware of it. Not when growing up, I wasn't aware of it. And then watching the cartoons, how women's identity is shaped by what the mass media and what people tell them, and it's really hard for women to break through that wall.
Yes, and that's kind of my purpose. And I, if it's okay, I started a podcast, and so it's called Life Beyond BS, and beyond BS for me is, yes, beyond belief systems, because those are placed upon us by the age of 7. And that's something that I talk about in the book, is that these belief systems that we have that are placed upon us, we have to start to become aware of them, because otherwise we're stuck with that identity that has been placed upon us by, sometimes well-meaning adults and other people in our lives, but our brain is trying to, function and keep us safe in this world. So going beyond those belief systems and the other stuff that, the world puts upon us. And as women, I think things are changing, but, we also still get stuck in these places where our identity is, you're a woman, you're supposed to be this and in this box.
You have sons, so you must notice a difference in that. I know as a male, I feel a difference.
Yeah.
I was doing a talk on this before. We were talking about women in leadership. Men are bred for leadership, but women aren't.
Right.
And how do you conquer that now?
Right. So with my boys, I have always been a very strong voice in their ears. And my husband and I are very equal in our relationship. And my boys have been able to see that I definitely have changed a lot throughout their lives. They're 23 and 19, but that I was never the subservient kind of person. I definitely took leadership in our home. I was a stay-at-home mom for raising them, and I'm super grateful for having that experience. But I was the stay-at-home mom that, made sure that they understood that I had a role in life and that I was not just somebody who was sitting back and, I clean, I cook, and I, do everything for everybody. Yeah, I had that part too, but I also was taking leadership and taking care of my mom when my mom was ill and became her advocate and her voice. And they got to see that. They got to see me doing my own things and taking, hobbies that I loved and different things that I felt drawn to do and led to do. And they've seen me build this business from nothing, all based on what I've gone through in my life. And then the education that I love to get, but also needed to get to be able to stand in integrity doing what I do now. And so they've heard me have a voice all this time. And I've always given them that power of having a voice, respecting others, respecting themselves. And so I felt that, showing them that kind of leadership, and now this leadership with writing a book and starting my business and doing a podcast. And I think that, their generation is seeing women very differently, at least from my boys' point of view. And I love that. And I love that I am in great circles with other strong female leaders who there's no male bashing, but what we're realizing is as women, we need to support each other and be in connection with each other as opposed to in that, competition.
But being a male, we teach you to fight against each other.
Right. Absolutely.
We do that,
Absolutely.
I just look at that, and we degrade, like when you were caretaking your mom and when you take for your kids, that's the most important job you have in your life. You can't screw that up. Job you can screw up and get another job.
Yep.
But we degrade that job too. It's down on a level, and it really shouldn't be. It should be the most important thing.
Right.
Like the most important title I have is dad.
Yeah.
And husband.
100% I agree.
That's it. That's the one. The other titles I have are come and go.
Yep.
But dad and father stay.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think mom's got to be that too. Mom and wife have to be there, or partner have to be that way to do that too.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think I'm glad we're making strides. I think we've made strides. I don't think we're there yet.
No.
I think we take steps back because it's comfortable.
Yeah. I think and that's the thing with comfort is, we tend to fear things that we don't know, but it's just our brain trying to keep us safe. Where if you can take that step and teach and lead and show, that people will start to see what people are capable of, women are capable of. And so that's one of my biggest sources of pride, is that my sons are so very open-minded, that they completely respect women and men, that they see people as equal, and that they also teach that themselves. That's just in their DNA. It's who they are.
I want to talk about fear later, but I want to, because you mentioned, I want to talk about it now, is in your book, you look at the women, they get a point where they're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And they either could jump off the cliff or power ahead?
Yeah.
What makes you power ahead, do you think?
Oh, I think that sometimes it's a brick in the face moment where something happens and it shows you you're kind of at a crossroads and you have a choice, and what are you going to choose? For me, I definitely feel that there's always been that little voice inside my head of what's right and what's not right. And so even though I grew up in an abusive environment and I was always told you're not to be seen, you're not to be known, you're to hide, you're not to think on your own, I also knew it wasn't, there was just something inside of me that knew it wasn't right. And I think that a big part of all of it is awareness. If you become aware of what you're feeling in your body, of what you're doing, does it feel right? Or are you feeling like you're doing something because you're supposed to? The shoulds. The shoulds are your brain is going, okay, I should do this because I'm worried about other people's reactions. I'm worried about what other people are going to say. If you really sit and listen to your heart and your soul and your body, you know if this is right or not. And so, it's taking that leap when you feel something and maybe you're scared, but at the same time, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be in this position anymore. I need something different.
This is about you, but I'm going to tell this to me myself.
Yeah.
I think I look at people and say, what's the best thing that happened in your life? Dying was the best thing that happened in my life, almost dying. Because the same thing, I got over the fear of all my fears went away.
Yeah.
And all my anxiety and my tension went away because I faced the ultimate.
Yeah.
And I survived it. So I think that sometimes facing your fears and overcoming them is good.
Yeah.
Like I hate to park cars in parking garages.
Mm-hmm.
It feared, I had anxiety about it. So I got a job parking cars in parking garages.
Okay. Yep.
And then I was okay after that because I conquered my fear.
Yeah.
And it was a little thing, it wasn't the major thing. I mean, I could avoid parking garages the rest of my life, but it was something I had to conquer. I think in your case, I was reading the book that the women reached that point where there was something they had to conquer and it was a fear, and they found a way to conquer the fear and move on.
Yeah. And it's profound. I mean, your experience was beyond profound. That's the most profound experience. But there are those moments that come, and they may be little moments. Like one of the big moments for me in my life was when I was a senior in high school and I was miserable. Now, I feared and hated my father, but I loved my mom. And yes, she was a flawed human being, as we all are. Mm-hmm. But I went to her one day in a really particularly desperate moment, and I really didn't talk to her much about how I felt because feelings were not okay. Your emotions were not okay in that house because she had kind of stomped hers down because living with an abusive man. And I just went to her one day totally broken, and I said, I can't do this anymore. And her response was it's just a small moment, but her response to me was, well, you have 1 year left. I already had a plan to go to college. I was accepted. She said, I have this for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And I get goosebumps now thinking about it because, that was devastating. But it was, even though it was a small moment and just a conversation, it was like, wow. And it made me look and go, that's not what I want for myself.
True. But we have the power to change.
Exactly.
Like it. And you look at women, get back to women. Women don't really feel like they have that power sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
My female friends talk about that all the time, that they feel like they're trapped into a mode. Mm-hmm. They have to do this, but I think we have to conquer our fears. We have to move on.
Yeah. So I have a bracelet that says choose on it. So you know how there's the word of the year. Yeah. And my word of the year this year, I went between choice and choose, and I chose choose because it's a verb and it's action. And that's, my two biggest things I talk about is awareness, because you can't change something if you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. If you need to start to realize something, that it's the power of awareness. And then you get to choose. And when you choose, you have nobody to blame but yourself. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean, if you're in a situation where you're getting these results and you're not happy with them, you have the power to choose what you're doing.
I remember when I first started working, I was complaining about work one day, and the publisher in the newspaper says, you work for yourself. He goes, your life you work, it's your life. You decide what you want to do. And it was kind of liberating, I think, in a way, because it's true. Like in your book, the women work for themselves. Mm-hmm. They figure out one was caught in a sexual harassment case at work, And she got out of the situation and realized what was happening and feel hypnotist therapist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one there.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that was until I read your books.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
But that's part of it, though, is the identity is very important to people. And we kind of lose our identity. We get caught up quickly.
Absolutely. And it's so easy because we just go through life and it's, okay, I have to get to work. I have to do this. I have to make my dinner. I have to do grocery shopping. Like we get stuck in the mundane sometimes. And that just becomes who we are. And how many people have ever said, I don't know when the last time I did something fun, or I went on a vacation, or I read a book, or I took, went to, get a massage or anything, because we get so caught up in what we're doing, especially if you have kids, or you're really in your career, we forget about ourselves and we worry about everybody else and how everybody's going to perceive us and how we're doing. We need to look at ourselves. And it's a cliche that, when you're on a plane and they say, put the oxygen mask on yourself first because you can't take care of anybody else. But it's true. How are you going to help or serve anybody else if you are falling apart yourself?
And then when you have your own self-awareness, it's easier to serve people.
Yeah.
Because you're not worried about the way people perceive.
And if you fill your cup up, it can overflow and fill everybody else up too.
I think that's like the key to a good life is the balance of that.
Yeah.
Like I get a lot out of helping people because that's the way I am. That's my personality. For me, that's like an endorphins.
Yeah.
It's the best drug I could ever take.
Absolutely.
I tell people that if you want it, the people, especially elderly people with disabilities, don't use the word can't. They use the word can, which I love that's the thing about it is when people I work with that. But when you're helping other people, you're helping yourself too. So it's kind of selfish when you're doing it in a way, but it's a good kind of selfishness.
And we have to be selfish, right?
We have to be selfish.
Selfish is taken on a bad rap because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help others. Yeah,
if I don't sleep, I would get enough sleep right there. I can't take care of my family. I can't take care of my family. I can't take care of myself. I can't take all the things I do. That was a long one. What about the S word, surrender?
Surrender.
This is really hard to do.
It is. It's surrendering to everything. People of faith surrender to God. People of not of faith maybe surrender to the universe. But you have to, at some point, sit back and accept the world for what it is, yourself for what you are, and surrender to that. Surrender to the calling on your heart. Surrender to who it is that you're supposed to be, who you're meant to be. Yeah, it's it sounds like a terrible word to a lot of people because it's, I'm not giving up, but it doesn't mean give up. It means, in a way, it means lifting yourself up, becoming.
I also think when I read your book and stuff, I just think it's also surrendering that things are going to happen and know it's going to happen and don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
Because the women in your book, if they dwelled on the things that happened to them, they would have never got to the point they get to.
Yeah, and you can't get out of your own way. And if you dwell on things, especially things that you don't know, you're dwelling on something that is holding you back, but there's no real reason for it to hold you back. It's what's in your mind, what your mind is telling you. So surrendering to the call on your heart, surrendering to just being and living this life and owning who you are and what you're called for is probably one of the most powerful things you can do.
Right. You don't judge where you're going. You just go.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it too. There's sometimes, I think in our lives, I'm a little older than you are, but I think in my life is like when I've surrendered, I've gone great places. Where I would have stopped myself from doing things that I get a lot of enjoyment out of, or I didn't know anything about.
Exactly.
Anything about it.
Exactly.
They always say, finding my career. Well, I don't think you find your career ever because you have to evolve as a person. And surrendering is part of that.
Evolving constantly, like just starting to become an entrepreneur. Before I became an entrepreneur, I thought, well, maybe I'll write a blog about the stories that I have in my life that maybe it can help somebody. And the next thing you know, I'm like, I think I want more than that. And within a year, I went from, I think, I'm a coach to I now speak. I now wrote something. I'm now a podcaster. And if I hadn't surrendered to what was on my heart, to what my calling is, I wouldn't be here.
Does this change how you wake up every day?
I'm not a super morning person. I'm more of a night owl.
I mean, just waking up in general. If you wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning, does that change how you like jump out of bed?
I think that I'm not a big morning person, so I don't wake up like woohoo.
Okay.
I definitely wake up in a much better place than I used to wake up, because
That's what I was trying to get to.
yeah, because the things that used to be in my heart and my head and my soul were a lot of anger, depression, hatred, misery, unfortunately. And it was about myself. It wasn't about other people, because I loved my husband, I loved my kids, I loved other people. I hated myself. And so I woke up miserable. And slowly over time, I did things to help myself, like going to bed and thinking about things I was grateful for and something I'm looking forward to. Building a habit of doing that, just that at the time, changed my life. I went to bed angry. I went to bed and couldn't fall asleep for 2 to 3 hours. I'd lay there and perseverate on everything that I hated about myself and that was wrong in the world, that people were wronging me and all these things, and wasn't taking ownership. And just changing my and having that practice of gratitude and looking forward to something, I fell asleep easier. I slept better through the night, and I woke up in a better mood. Now, I don't jump up out of bed like, woohoo, but I also give myself the ability to wake up and take my time and think about things. It's not exactly meditation, but I guess it's a form of meditation, thinking about what I want, what I want to do for the day, what I'm looking forward to. And by the time I get downstairs and have my breakfast, I am much happier.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Because you really tackle a lot of things early, too.
Yeah.
But I think it's all the way you approach things, too. Like, it's like people that pray. I always pray for grateful, being grateful, not for things.
Yeah.
I pray for thanks and grateful, because the grateful is the most important thing to do every step of the day. And when you learn that, life opens up for you a lot more.
Gratitude.
Like I wake up ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I wake, okay, what am I going to do today? What am I going to accomplish as an entrepreneur like yourself?
Yeah.
I go, who can I work this with today? Who would give me this to work with and stuff like that. So my mind's always working.
Yep.
I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning with ideas for books and stories. So it's a blessing, but it's a curse.
It's a great thing because you feel good, and you have more joy in your heart, and you've got a pep in your step, But
your brain is going constantly all the time.
Nonstop.
This is the way I found to have my own business, being my own boss. It's kind of liberating too, because I can't fire myself. So that fear is gone.
Yeah.
If I fire myself, I've got a lot of issues if I fire myself.
Right. And the beautiful thing too is, like you said, like you can maybe have a to-do list, or as I call it, a to-do list, because I love to cross things off.
Yeah.
But you have the flexibility of being able to say, what's calling me today? I can still get to that later, but I'm going to do what's calling me today.
But one of the undercurrents in your book is the women do that.
Yes.
And, I don't know, when you read it, you read it that doesn't stand out when you read it. When you think about it, it stands out, the undercurrent of like, okay, I'm going to accomplish this. The accomplisher, not a sit around the house person.
Right.
And that's that thing I have that with seniors, as I was becoming a senior citizen, is that they were told to do that. And we don't need to do that.
Right.
And that's what doesn't work out too. I think people in life they're told so much things that they don't need to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's I said this to you earlier. I'm 53. And, a lot of people I know are thinking about retiring, not necessarily just sitting around at home, but retiring. I'm just getting going, on this. And you need that purpose. You need to have that spark in your life.
I think it's healthier. Yeah. I have a doctor that's 88 or something, 86, 88. And I asked him what the key to life was. Is to staying busy and staying healthy. Mm-hmm. And I asked my friends in my senior writing group, they're a lot older than me, what's the key to life? Exercise, thinking, no stress, being involved.
Yep.
And it's simple.
Yeah.
But that applies to everybody. In your book, that applies to the women too.
Yeah.
That they found something they took the negative out of their lives and replace it with a positive.
Right. Exactly.
What do you mean by the E word, the E in Rise? Embrace.
Embracing life for what it is, embracing who you are, embracing your situation that maybe you've gone through something really negative, but you can learn lessons from that. And that's huge for me, is embracing your life. Because sure, when my abuser was my father. Do I wish I had had a dad? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I have to take the experiences that I had and embrace them and become who I am because of it.
Great. I think you learn more from I always tell people you learn more from your failures.
Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah.
When I worked for a company that lost millions of dollars, I learned a lot more. I learned not to do that.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
that's all I always tell people when they hire me again. I said, well, what do you think is biggest accomplishment? I go, I worked for a company that lost a lot of money
Yeah.
because I've learned not to do it.
Yeah.
I learned that when building my own company, I find I look at that, I use that experience to get over that.
Yep. And I mean, people look at somebody and say, wow, they're so successful. Wow, they have millions of dollars. Wow, they wrote a book. Wow, they did this. But they don't see all the failures that they had to get there. And the reason that they are there is because they dared to do it and fail and learn from it.
I think I always give, when I was a sports writer, I used to always give talks and stuff to kids. And what they always used to tell them is, if somebody says you can't do something, tell me, I'll go punch them in the face.
Huh.
You know, I wasn't going to do that, obviously. But I mean, but people should not tell you can't do anything. Because if you really want to do it, you'll find a way to do it and be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a friend who says, watch me.
Yeah, watch me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, but how does that relate to women, do you think, getting that feeling?
I think that women have always been held back. And I think that, we need to own who we are and that we are strong and powerful. I mean, we create life and we raise these people to become functional, amazing human beings in the world. So, yeah, I think we have a lot of power.
What was it like to write the book, and what has been the reaction of the book?
The reaction has been fantastic. I've had people say that, they connected with different stories, that they found something in the stories that, relates to them, even though they didn't have the same situation. And writing the book was very cathartic. It was, I've always used my voice to talk about it, but putting it in writing and having it birthed out into the world was, it was a pretty wild experience, but it was really powerful.
I called it the cheapest counseling I paid.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
And then, because you're writing, but then you're also changing things and you're editing and you're going back and saying, well, I didn't want to say it that way. Or, so it really, you think a lot. Think a lot.
Did you have time? My story was when I wrote it, some of the chapters I had to stop and take a couple of days to decompress from the story. Did you have to go through that too?
Yeah. And I would put it down for a week and think, okay, I'll go back to it when I'm in a better space or I have the different energy, because the energy that you approach things with comes through in what you're doing.
There's so much of this book we could talk about. I know this.
Yes.
I know we only have a half hour, but I really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate you sharing your story more than anything else.
Thank you.
And I think that it's important for people to read it. I always tell people some books are good, and all books are good because everybody puts a lot of effort into it. But then there are books that are important to read that change lives, and your book, Rise, changes lives.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Stoughton Writers Group on TV. I'm your host, Mike Hardman, and a special thanks to our amazing crew here at SMAC that does a great job getting this show up and running and getting it on the air. And thanks to all who watch. Have a good day, good night, and good evening.